Hello, everybody, and welcome, W. Bruce Cameron. We're so excited to have you for our first Crowdcast event. Thank you for being with us today.
You never. Okay.
Hello. Okay.
I live with an Android.
That's okay. We're very excited to have W. Bruce Cameron with us today. He is the #1 New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of A Dog's Purpose, A Dog's Way Home, and A Dog's Journey, all major motion pictures now. The Dog Master, The Dog's Promise, and the Puppy Tale series for readers, one of which we'll be discussing tonight, which is Bella's story that we discussed today. I want to give you some very quick instructions. We will do a question and answer when Bruce is done speaking. If you want to ask a question by clicking the Ask a Question button at the bottom of your screen, I will monitor them and give them to Bruce when he's done speaking. Or if you'd like to chat with us on the chat bar, I'll monitor that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to hop off screen and welcome Bruce Cameron.
Hi, I'm Bruce Cameron, and this is my dog Tucker. Tucker is my co-author, and Tucker and I are just delighted to be with you tonight. This is the first time I've done anything like this, so we'll see how it goes. I've got thousands of people standing around to make sure everything goes well. And 2 people, yes. You're actually visible. I don't know if you knew that. So. All right, so I want to tell you about my book, Bella's Story. I don't have my book. During the time of COVID, they don't send books to the author. They just have the author take a screenshot. And so the actual book will be long. It'll have more pages than this. This is, just so you know, if you buy the book, you're going to get a better deal than this, which isn't, yeah, but that's a cute puppy, right? I mean, and that's great. So I don't know what that's for. And for some reason, this is a book. We said, no, let's show this book. People. All right. So I want to tell you a little bit about Bella's story, and then we can go right to questions. And by the way, I've got a video of Tucker to show you at some point. So when I wrote A Dog's Purpose, I wrote a book that I thought really nailed the way I wanted dogs to talk to humans, but I didn't write it thinking this is a book for children. I wrote it as a book for adults, and the sequel to A Dog's Purpose, A Dog's Journey, same thing. And what I heard from parents and teachers all over was, this book's a little intense. There's a lot of intense stuff going on in this book. Could you write a book that has the same dog point of view, but is not so intense? And so I wrote the first one called Elisie's Story without realizing I was starting something sort of big, because Elisie's Story, which is a story of the dog of Ellie and A Dog's Purpose, won the Colorado Book Award, among other awards. I've never won an award for anything before. Well, in 3rd grade, I won the spelling bee. Not bragging, but of course, the girl that I beat, she beat me up later. So there's a way in which I got punished for that. But anyway, I digress. So I was on this thing called Puppy Tales, and Puppy Tales are to an extent an adaptation of my grown-up books, A Dog's Purpose, A Dog's Journey, and then A Dog's Way Home. The dog in A Dog's Way Home is Bella. Again, A Dog's Way Home has all kinds of issues, adult issues that are in it. I think they made them softer for the movie. In fact, we helped do that because Catherine and I were the screenwriters. The themes are not as adult and not as terrifying as they are in the book. But I wanted to write a book for kids so that children could enjoy the story of Bella. And I love the way Bella's story came out, because it's an adventure story and you get exactly what's motivating Bella. She gets banned from Detroit and winds up making her way across the Rocky Mountains, hundreds of miles in terrain that is completely hostile to the life of dogs. Dogs don't, you can't just open a door and say, go out and catch rabbits and expect a dog to survive. We have bred them to depend on us. And so Bella has to find her way back to her man, to her boy. She has to find her way back to Lucas, or she won't survive. And how she goes about doing that and the friends she makes along the way, and the adventures and dangers that she encounters, that's the dog's way home. And the story of Bella's story captures the essence of that without becoming so threatening and terrifying for children that it's inappropriate. That's how I would package it. That's how I would tell you that is the intent anyway. Okay, so that's all I want to talk without getting some of your questions, so I can find out what's on your mind, and we can take as long or as little as you want to do this. It's our first. We'll see how things go. So they tell me I'll be able to see questions on the screen, like right there. And
and I'm back. So what we can do, let's bring up a question here. So our first question is, why write books about dogs? What about cats, guinea pigs, or fish?
Yeah, cats, guinea pigs, and fish. That's kind of that would be a really unlikely trio of friends, wouldn't it? So I actually am working on a book about a cat. It's taking me a while because I don't understand cats very well. They don't understand me very well. I had a cat for a long time. I loved my cat. My cat didn't like me. That's just how that goes with cats. Now, dogs are different. Like you take Tucker, and of course, I don't mean take Tucker because I would never let him go. But Tucker absolutely adores every single person who comes over to visit, even the burglars. And so I can write from a dog's point of view much more easily. And I don't know, a hamster's point of view or a goldfish's point of view, that's a pretty short book, I think. I don't think there's not much I can do with that.
And have you always had dogs?
Just pretty much always I've had dogs. I had my first dog show up in my life when I was 8 years old, the same age that Ethan is in A Dog's Purpose when Bailey shows up. My dad had never said he was going to get a dog. And in fact, nobody in the neighborhood had dogs. That's just how things were. And I didn't see anything. It wasn't anything that I thought was unusual. And then one day my dad opens the gate and inbounds this little Labrador puppy. And it was like we came together like we were best friends. And all I remember then was running around the neighborhood with this dog on our heels. We didn't use leashes. Things were pretty easy then. Didn't have a lot of fences in the backyard, so we just treated them as one big, long playing field. And pretty soon other people had dogs. I don't know if we started it, and it just occurred to them, hey, if the Camerons can have a dog, we should have one too. That was my first dog. That was Cammy. And then, my parents shortly thereafter discovered that they liked dogs much better than they liked children. So they had 3 kids, and so they got 3 dogs, and we always had at least 3 dogs, sometimes 4. And the dog pack was always what they paid the most attention to, the kids, not so much. And yeah, right. That's how it goes. And then when I was in college, I had a dog. I got unfortunately, that was Kai. It was my first dog that I had that was just mine. And he died of cancer at a very young age. And that was really heartbreaking. So then I got a Malamute. That was a completely unusual experience. I didn't really understand how different dog breeds could be. Now I'm educated in that. And then just pretty much have always had dogs. Tucker is a mix of who knows what. We know he has terrier, but he's got all kinds of other things in there as well. So I've kind of gotten to a point where I'm much more into dog rescue than I am into specific breeds.
That was our next question too. We had someone wondering, what breed is Tucker and how old? How old is he?
Well, Tucker, take a look at this face. Looks a little bit like a golden, but he's got the hair of a terrier. Sometimes when he barks, he sounds just like a beagle. He's got poodle fur on the side. You can't see it, but his fur is all curly on the side. He doesn't know what he is. He's not a watchdog. When you know how a doorbell rings and the dog barks really loudly, Tucker does it. Tucker does. because he doesn't want anybody to come in and know that there's a dog in there, that he doesn't want to get hurt by any burglars. So he barks like that. He doesn't want to offend anybody. So that's Tucker. And then Tucker is 9 years old, but because he works in Hollywood, we say he's 5.
Let's see here. Does Tucker proofread your books for accuracy?
You know, he won't even read his email anymore. He got so big-headed. He had one little role in a movie. Well, so my wife's a movie director. She made a movie called Muffin Top. It's an R-rated comedy, and I was in the movie, and Tucker was in the movie. Well, I got cut, but Tucker's in the movie. So I realize that my wife thinks that I'm a worse actor than a 3-year-old dog. So that was hard to take. But he became big-headed after that. And he doesn't answer email. I don't know. He doesn't do anything like that. He's just resting on his laurels.
Okay. All right. And then we have someone who would like for you to talk about your study guides and activity sheets.
Oh, this is a great topic, because that's where we find ourselves right now, is with a lot of people that are homeschooling, or this summer, you know, with the way schools sort of ended on a whimper, a lot of parents are concerned that their kids are not going to be intellectually active all summer long. Mm-hmm. So if your child is in the right age group for you to be seizing control of their destiny and trying to teach them all summer long, let me tell you, we've got some core compliant, CORE compliant study guides on my site at dogsperfect.com under fun stuff. These are downloadable, they're free, and they're for each of the puppy tales. We don't have Bella's story written yet, but it's for each of the puppy tales and for all of the grown-up books, with the exception of A Dog's Promise, which just came out. So you can use these study guides to teach. And there's also on the Macmillan, the BruceCameronBooks.com website, there are study guides that are more like activity kits for younger children. And I guess I should tell you, I've got a new series of chapter books called Lily to the Rescue, and we're doing study guides for those too. And there's activity kits for those too. Lily chapter books is like younger than the puppy tales. Bella's story is a puppy tale. Lily to the Rescue, and there's 4 of those books so far, and those are for even younger children. So, and I'm really happy with how those are turning out. Those are fantastic. They're so cute. And so yeah, I think if you're stuck well, we're all stuck at home, right? So if you're at home and you're trying to figure out what to do to keep your brain from turning into soup, a really good way is to read a book, and then the study guide is a way for parents to test for comprehension and vocabulary. They're fantastic. They were written by award-winning teachers, and they're really worth it.
Okay. And let's see, has the Malamute for A Dog's Promise movie been cast yet?
We haven't cast it. No, great question though, because we try to make movies out of all of our books, but of course that's a decision that's not exactly mine to make. But we have sold the rights to A Dog's Promise to the same studio that made A Dog's Purpose and A Dog's Journey, and that's Amblin. We have a great relationship with them. It's a fine place to be with our stuff. And so we have sold them and are working on the screenplay as recently as today for A Dog's Promise. Haven't done any casting yet, haven't figured out all the particulars. If you've read my series, the A Dog's Purpose series, you realize that each of the books is pretty different than the other one. I mean, the Dog's Purpose is one dog, several different families, eventually finds his way back to his own boy. A Dog's Journey is the story of a girl and her dog, basically. And then A Dog's Promise, completely different about a special needs child and how the circumstances that put him in the wheelchair have blown up a family, and now a dog needs to heal everybody in the family in its own way and help guide them to their ultimate destiny. It's different than Purpose, and it's different than Journey, and that's A Dog's Promise. And that'll be out in paperback real soon. I think in July it comes out in paperback. So if you don't have it, if you want to wait for the paperback, that'll be out just in a couple of months. They'll go by like that because they're just going to be sitting inside doing the same thing every single day.
Right. And also, if anybody would like to purchase a copy of Bella's story or any of the other books, there is a purchase button on the screen that goes right to our website. And we do ship, and we have curbside pickup for those of you who are local. Okay.
Perfect.
Let's see. Does anyone else have any other questions? You can ask them in the chat screen if you would like to. Okay, here's another one. Are all the books linked, or are they a series?
That is a really good question because it's a little hard to track. So A Dog's Purpose, A Dog's Journey, and A Dog's Promise are all part of the same series. A Dog's Way Home stands alone. And then the puppy tales, some of them are linked and some are not. So Bailey's story, who's Bailey, and Ellie's story, those are based on A Dog's Purpose. I would say that Molly's story is based on A Dog's Journey, but Toby's story, Toby is technically a dog from A Dog's Journey, but in A Dog's Journey, Toby's story, I don't want to plot spoil, but it's only a few pages long. So that's a really wholly new story for Toby's story. That's the one with the beagle on the cover. Toby is an interesting beagle because he is adopted by an assisted living facility because they want a real gentle, small, cute dog. And what's cuter than a beagle? But they're real high energy dogs, but not this one. This one just wants to lie around. So they figure, oh, it's perfect, a lazy beagle. What they don't know is that Toby's got a food allergy. And once they figure out that Toby's got a food allergy, Toby just takes off. And now you've got this dog running amok in a nursing home. But they all love the dog now. They don't want to get rid of the dog, but Toby is wreaking havoc. So it's a really fun setup for a great story that's ultimately, I think, very heartwarming. I think it's one of my most heartwarming puppy tales. Shelby's story is the story of Shelby, the star of A Dog's Way Home. Shelby was a dog living in a junkyard in Tennessee when she was picked up. And we had put out a nationwide call to try to find a dog that would be right for the movie. And they suggested we check out this dog. So we went down to Nashville. When I say we, was Catherine Michon, who's a movie director, and that she wanted to be able to see if the dog would photograph well. And then there was Teresa, who is the dog trainer, and she was going to make sure that Shelby could be trained. And then I went down because I'd never had Nashville hot chicken and saw this perfect opportunity. So we got down there and we had 15 minutes with this dog, and we thought, this is the dog. She's absolutely the best dog. So Shelby's story is the story of Shelby is based on a true set of circumstances, rescuing a dog from a landfill in the rural counties of Tennessee. And there's one other one. Oh, Lily's story. So this gets even more complicated. So I wrote a book called Lily's Story about a dog named Lily who is rescued and then winds up coming to live with people at a rescue and help rescue other dogs. And Lily's story was so much fun that I decided to base the Lily to the Rescue chapter book series on Lily's story. So there you have it. They're very complicated. I bet you're not happy that you asked that question. Very complicated.
All right. Let's see here. Okay. How long does it typically take you to write one of your books?
Well, it used to take me 18 months, and I was very comfortable at that pace. And then some things happened. I'm publishing a book this October called A Dog's Perfect Christmas. There, folks, you heard it here first. So A Dog's Perfect Christmas is coming out in October, but we wanted a summer book for me next summer. So I am probably 20 days away from finishing a book that I started in December. and which is the fastest I've ever written a book. So I would say that normally I want to take about 8 to 12 months to write a full length, what I call a grown-up book. But in this case, I wrote it much more quickly. But the quality hasn't suffered. It's one of my favorite books that I've ever written.
Okay. Is Tucker ever going to have a cameo in one of your books?
Well, that would be Tucker. Tucker, how would you feel about that? I think Tucker is, he's let this whole thing get to his head, and he is just like insufferable now. And, you know, you have to call ahead and make an appointment with his assistant. I think that I write fiction, so it would be confusing to me to blend fiction and then real life characters. I try not to do that. Couldn't help it with Shelby's story because I'm in Shelby's story. I'm the astoundingly youthful screenwriter is my role in Shelby's story. And so that's the blending of truth and fiction, although after what I just said, you could tell it's still mostly fiction.
And you did you just mention what you are working on right now?
Well, I didn't. I'm working on another book that as yet doesn't have a title. So the title of it is Bruce Cameron's untitled novel. It'll probably have a different title when it comes out, I think. I mean, the marketing people will probably have something to say about that.
Right.
But that was the title of my Christmas book until a few weeks ago. Like we really like A Dog's Perfect Christmas, which you know, after a while, if you've looked at 200 titles for a book, you can't tell what's good anymore. Like you literally are like, I don't know, maybe it's good. I don't know. So I used to be really good at titles. I came up with titles like 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter and How to Remodel a Man and a bunch of titles like that, A Dog's Purpose. But of late, maybe that part is just shut down. It's just tired of producing titles.
That's understandable. Let's see here. Okay. Why do you shorten your first name to W?
Oh, you know, I'll tell you, it's not as big a mystery. I used to say that the W in W. Bruce Cameron stands for www.wbrucecameron.com, but that's not true. My dad was William. His dad was William. I have an uncle named William. My son is named William. My nephew is named William. So I picked Bruce. So it's W. Bruce.
Okay. That's fair. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Will Ruddy McCann be making another appearance?
I swear the same person is lurking at every single book signing I ever do. They always have a different face. I don't know how they do it. So here's who Ruddy McCann is. If you're a fan of my books and you run out and you're interested in continuing to read what I can do, I would suggest my Repo Man series. Ruddy McCann is a Repo Man. It's a entirely different genre. It's mystery thriller. They're pretty funny. And everybody who reads them becomes addicted to them, but there's only 2. So I'm always being asked for when the next one's going to come out. And the answer is, well, you know, I'm writing these dog books and I'll get to Ruddy. I know what happens in the next one. I just need to write it. And I know what happens in the one after that. So I just need to break loose some time. And but I don't have a date for you yet. I've got too many books. I've got to write 7 books this year, so I'm just not going to be able to hit it. Yeah.
You have a few things going on. All right. Let's see. Does anybody want to ask a question in the chat bar on the side? You can do that if you would like to. Let's see.
I see someone's asking me about Akitas. An Akita is a very interesting breed. I don't really know. I've only met one Akita that I had any more than just just a petting and saying hi to. So I don't know anything about Akitas. would like to learn. But it's also true that, there's a lot of blending of breeds when you go to a rescue shelter, and you get some really interesting dogs out of it. And they don't all have to be like really nose in the air, snobby dogs like Tucker. They can be like really good down to earth dogs. And so, and that's kind of where my heart is now. I don't know that I'll ever have another purebred, though. If you want a purebred lab or some other breed, you can get one. My daughter, who runs a rescue in Denver, just adopted out 4 pure blood American Standard poodles. So they are available if you can widen your net and go searching. You can adopt a dog that's exactly the dog that you want. And so if you've always had Akitas and you want another Akita, you can find an Akita dog rescue and get the Akita that will be your best friend forever.
And is there a proposed release date for the movie A Dog's Promise?
No. But I will tell you that that's not unusual at all. That it took 7 years from the time A Dog's Purpose was released until the movie was in theaters. So it can take a long time. And meanwhile, from a screenwriter standpoint, and especially as the author, you have no idea what everybody's doing. Like you call up and you say, "Are you not going to?" And they're like, "No, everything's going great." And you're like, "Sure it is," but it's not. And then one day you get a phone call that says Dennis Quaid is playing Ethan, and from that point forward, you've got a movie.
Okay. Here we have. Was there any inspiration for Clarity and her problems in the book?
So Clarity is CJ's. Clarity June is CJ, and inspiration for it. Well, I've known a lot of, and when you say the book, of course, you run into a problem here because you could be talking about Molly's story or you could be talking about A Dog's Journey. But just going to A Dog's Journey, CJ is a very troubled person who makes a lot of bad choices in her life. And that's why she, above all other people, need a dog. And that's why the dog, the Bailey character, keeps returning to CJ to help her navigate these rough waters and ultimately find the kind of life that she needs to live. And if you've seen A Dog's Journey, that was a pretty faithful adaptation of the book, with the exception of the fact that the mom, Gloria, in the movie is redeemed and has a far less complex set of neurotic characteristics than in the book. I've been told by people, we actually took a poll. We took a poll, and of all the characters I've written, by far, Gloria was considered to be the most evil. And I've written about serial killers, and I've written about cannibals, and yet, no, that's
Gloria.
those are nothing compared to Gloria, who really doesn't do anything except for she's a bad mom.
Oh, wow. I'll do it. Oh my gosh. All right, let's see here. What is The Dog's Purpose about?
Okay. A Dog's Purpose is the story of a dog named Bailey who doesn't die. Bailey reincarnates and remembers each life and eventually learns lessons along the way so that he can make his way back to his original boy and save his original boy from some circumstances that are pretty tragic. So it's a very hopeful story and very, very heartwarming. The movie is a little different than the book. I'd say A Dog's Journey and A Dog's Way Home are much more faithful adaptations, but the movie is pretty popular. Dennis Quaid says of all the movies he's made, that's one of the top 3 that is always mentioned. It's like Parenthood and A Dog's Purpose, and I can't remember the other one.
Wow.
Parent Trap.
Parent Trap, right. High praise.
Not Parenthood.
Right. That was Steve Martin, wasn't it? Steve Martin. That was good. Okay. Do you believe that dogs actually come back to life? And do you think your past dogs are looking for you?
What I believe is maybe different than what I think. I mean, I think it's probably unlikely that dogs are reincarnated, but I believe that sometimes I've encountered dogs that so seem to have the soul of a dog that I've had in my life. So I think ultimately my heartfelt belief is that the premise of A Dog's Purpose is exactly true, that our dogs are out there, that love that we had with them is out there. And if we know where to look, it'll find its way to us and into our hearts again.
All right, let's see here. All right, that is okay. Bye, Sophia.
Sophia's got to go.
Sophia's got to go.
Let me show you. So, there's something that's true about dogs that I didn't really understand until I wrote my book called The Dog Master, which is, I would say if you're a parent, don't pick up The Dog Master and hand it to your child to read until you read it yourself. There's very adult themes in there. Because it's the story of the Paleolithic era when people first began adopting dogs. And this was such a momentous change in the course of our species history that I really wanted to write about it in The Dog Master. That gift has given us A Dog's Purpose. That gift gives us the connection that we have with dogs today. But all dogs have wolf DNA in them. All dogs are in a way related to those original wolves that were persuaded to join us at the campfire back during the Paleolithic when I was like in 5th grade. And the point I'm trying to make here is that Tucker is part wolf, and yet he's afraid of paper bags blowing in the wind. And he's afraid of parked bicycles. He's afraid of the tape measure. Like I had the tape measure, I was measuring the garage, and he was terrified. So I'm like, where's the wolf? And Tucker doesn't want to go for walks. So if I can figure out how to do it, we're going to watch a movie on that is me calling Tucker to go for a walk. And my technical support person is standing by. It's on my desktop. Okay, so now.
So if you do entire screen, you can just click into your desktop and you can see everything.
Oh, well, we don't want that because we have a bunch of
I'm
stuff.
going to turn off my video so you have more of the screen, okay?
Okay.
I'll pop back on.
You want to go for a walk? Wait. Oh, shit. That's the wrong one. Okay. You want to go for a walk? Okay. Application window. Okay.
Your entire screen. Just click on this. You're gonna have to do entire screen. I don't know why
there. Okay, stand by. Can you hear me? Walk. Go for a walk. Can you see if it's sharing? Yeah, you want to go for a walk? Let's go for a walk. Come on, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Let's go for a walk. Let's go. Let's go. Yay. Want to go for a walk? Want to go for a walk? Let's go, Tucker. Come on, let's go. It's working. Audio. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Come on. We're going to go for a walk. Let's go, buddy. Come on. Seriously, don't you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go for a walk? Let's go for a walk. Come on, buddy. Let's go, Tucker. Let's go.
Come on, Tucker. Let's go, Tucker. Come on. Go for a walk now. Come on. Yeah. Okay, good dog. Wanna go for a walk? Okay, come on. That's good. Okay. You wanna go for a walk? Go for a walk?
Okay.
That was adorable.
I know. Now, I've got another 6-second clip I want to show you that's Tucker on an actual walk, so you can see just how cooperative he is. So hold on, I'll do a little better job this time, I think. Here we go. So I'm going to bring this up. Ah, crap. Okay, hold on. Where does it say share? I forgot already. Okay. So yeah, we'll go back here. I will take it all the way to there. There. Now I go here. Share. Entire screen. Share. Okay. Is it working? I don't have to play bar. Usually it.
Minimize it.
Oh, it's because of this dumb thing. That's Tucker on a walk.
Okay, there we go. I have cats, but we always grew up with dogs in my house, and we really only had one at a time. But what you said about your parents in the beginning, I have to tell you, there's 3 of us kids, and my parents have absolutely 100% replaced us with dogs. They have 3 dogs at once all the time. That is absolutely a thing that happens.
Okay, well let's review. I never did get my copy, but you can get your copy by clicking on purchase your book right here. I'm pointing to it. I hope that worked on your screen. It'll be an entirely different. This is a rather slimmed down edition of Bella's story. It turned out great. I mean, it's a challenge to adapt a full-length adult book and slim it down and turn it into a child's book, especially, but there were themes in the adult book having to do with the VA hospital, which I'm sure if you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Those aren't in here because those are pretty significant issues, and I wanted instead to focus on this dog, first the puppy love it feels for Lucas, and then this dog on the way home, battling its way through the nearly unsurvivable challenges of the Rocky Mountains in summer and winter. There's no food up there. I mean, there's if you're a top of the chain predator like a bear or more likely like a mountain lion, there's food you can catch, but a dog can't. The dog can't do anything up there. So the dog, it's pretty interesting how Bella figures out a way to survive in the Rocky Mountains for close to 2 years before she's able to make her way back to her boy.
Wow. And yes, we do have the books in store, and Bruce was nice enough to sign book plates for us, so your copies will have a signed book plate in them.
That's right. It'll be worth far more on eBay than $1. Far more. Twice as much.
Right, twice as much. Well, it looks like that is about it. So I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. It was very nice to do our first Crowdcast event with you. I'm really proud that we got the screen share down.
Hey, that was my. I refused to take training in it. I said I'll figure it out, and I'm so sorry. I should have taken training.
It worked out. Now we all know how to do it. It's great. But thank you. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and everyone stay safe and stay well at home.
Support your local bookstore.
And that. Thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.